A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but sometimes we need to add words to our storyboard panels to tell more of a story. So this text may be needed for signage in your art or for logos, or if you're working on commercials, there's almost always screen text that you need to add to your boards. Now you can add text to both vector and bitmap layers, and even on a bitmap layer, the text is handled like a separate vector element. Now the basics of adding graphic text to Storyboard Pro is very similar to any other graphics program. So let's go ahead and take a look at this exercise file, and let's go to shot 42 to begin. So here we go, shot 42. The low angle looking up at the guy. Let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see our entire frame. All right, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and select my text icon, and I'm going to click somewhere in here where I want to add some text. It's just on this back wall. So I'm going to click down, and let's type anything. Let's just type wall. Now, I can edit the size or placement or font at any time. So let's just see a couple things we can do here. If I highlight the entire text when I'm using my text tool, under my tool properties, I can change my font to, let's just change it to a really bold Arial black. There it changes. I can adjust the size. I can adjust any number of different things I want. The kerning is the amount of space in between the letters. Or if I grab my selection tool and I select the text, I can adjust the size just by clicking and dragging or squashing and stretching. Very simple. Now I can also add a text box. So let me grab my text tool again. Now I'm just going to drag out a line. Now it's a very thin box. You can't adjust the height of it, but as I'm typing, it'll automatically wrap. So let's say Mark is showing me how to do this. Notice it automatically wraps around. Now I can, with a double-headed arrow, make this wider so I can adjust the size of my text box. Now, as you see that four-sided arrow, when I'm using my text tool and I get that four-sided arrow over one of the lines, that allows me to move the text. It's different than when I'm using my selection tool. For the selection tool, I only get the four-sided arrow when I'm actually over the text itself, because if I go over the line, then I'll be skewing it. So it's a little bit different depending on which icon, which tool you're using at the time. So for scaling, if I want to scale it evenly, I can just grab any corner and scale it. If I want to keep the proper ratio, I hold down my Shift key. Now the text will always look the same. And if I hold down the Alt and the Shift key, it centers my scaling. Just like it does in any other graphic element, it works that way on text. Now if I want to rotate text, I just hover outside of any corner. Notice I get the rotating arrows. I can rotate it around. If I hold down my Shift key, it limits me to 15-degree increments as I'm rotating around the text. If I want to squash and stretch my text, I just grab any side node or top node or bottom node, and I can squash and stretch. I already showed you the skewing. Any line, and I get the double-sided arrow, I can skew my text. So I can actually line up with a lot of my background elements just with skewing without having to go to perspective. So there's nothing really fancy about using text tools, but it is quick and really easy to add and edit text and place it into my art.